Okay, can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay, welcome to another episode of Nansen Unsupervised. This time I have a really interesting one. I've got Mike Damazo with me, who has a really interesting and pretty amazing journey into crypto, as well as a very kind of intriguing method of trading NFTs. Also, importantly, he is a brilliant user of Nansen. So hopefully we'll be able to give us some tips, me included, on how to become like a Nansen Power-User, especially for NFTs. So yes, before we get into it, if you'd like to start using Nansen, we will have a Nansen Lite sign up below, completely free. So you can try it out for yourself. We also have a 40% discount, up to 40% discount running at the moment. So just head over to the pricing and plans page. Make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on. We have office hours on Wednesdays, unsupervised on Fridays. Next week, we've got Luca Netz and Maxine Ryan for an NFT innovation episode. Should be really good. But yes, drop your GMs in the chat as well. I'll hopefully see them in a second. And then, Mike, do you want to introduce yourself and how you kind of got into crypto?
Sure. First off, GM, everybody. So as Alex had said, I'm Mike. Some people know me as AO Miko, especially in the Bored Ape Discord and just in different Discords. So how I got into crypto was back in 2017 in San Diego. There was a startup San Diego week, and me and my friend just decided to go kind of crash it, make fake passes, and just kind of go see what they were talking about. And I'm in the Navy, still am, and one of my plans was like, oh, like I want to revamp this program we have in the Navy, and I wanted to see what the process was. Well, while just hanging around there talking to people, I heard them talk about Ethereum, and it just kind of like clicked to me as somebody explained it more and more. So as soon as I got home, I kind of looked into it, got into ETH in 2017. Didn't really know much except, like price goes up, price goes down, and was just buying that from somebody in the Philippines, actually, like through PayPal, like spot trading. And it was just the craziest time, really. He explained to me like what a wallet was and everything. And all I knew was like, oh, I just want ETH. I don't know what else to do with it. So yeah, I just kind of dollar cost average in 2017, and then throughout, well, till now, I still dollar cost average, and I just kind of like stepped away from it and just set it on an automatic investment. And the biggest thing was just like when I came back into the scene in 2021, I noticed that NBA TopShot was starting off, and I know what NBA is, and I know Crypto Kitties because I remember that before I left for deployment in 2018. And I was like, oh, Crypto Kitties was cool. And another blockchain game that I remember was Neon District. So those two like blockchain like NFT games was the ones that like I got the exposure from. So when I saw NBA Top Shot back to Dapper Labs, it kind of just clicked for me with NFTs are like the future, like it just made sense. So I got into NBA Top Shot, converted some of my ETH that I had, and then just had a heavy bag. And I kind of just, it's a learning experience. Some people have that play to earn. I guess mine was pay to earn in that regard. Just kind of kept watch with the NFT market. And then I think it was Mooncats that started when I like really got into like, okay, what's on chain? Why was this one of the first early historical NFTs? Funny enough, I remember thinking of getting a CryptoPunk, but just kind of brushed it off. But I noticed everybody else had that. It just wasn't clicking to me. Yeah, that's how I really just got into it. I want to say Mooncats, and then from there it was just active in different Discords.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it weird? Like I had someone on the other day, and it was a few weeks ago now, JG, who's Smart Money, and I think it must have been like for Americans. Obviously, a lot of you know NBA. In the UK, we're like basketball noobs. We don't watch NBA, or maybe that's just me. But when they came out, Top Shot came out. I didn't think anything of it because personally, I didn't care. But then it seemed like TopShot was like a really good way of like pushing people into NFTs in America. Because I heard a really, really similar story, and it was the same thing with Mooncats. I think JG as well. He saw TopShot come out. He bought a lot of them, and then he was like, "Oh, this is quite cool." And then he got into like loot as well, and bought a ton of loot, made tons of money off that. So it's kind of similar for you. So like, what was your big win? It was it Mooncats, as you mentioned, and then how did you end up kind of getting an ape? What time period was that?
So for the time period, it was kind of funny because it wasn't just NBA Top Shot that I was into. I also found Nifty Gateway at the time, and it was kind of combining my two loves of like there's an art magazine named what do you call it, Juxtapose, and there's also like an NBA magazine called Slam Magazine, and just kind of knowing those two things, I was collecting like the art in Nifty Gateway, NBA Top Shot. But my big one, how I got into Bored Ape, was just like after Mooncats, I think I was following Pranksy, and I noticed like, okay, like this person knows what they're talking about. Like you see their art collection, and when Bored Apes was like it was minting, I was just like, dude, I really like vibe with the art, and it was. I mean, for me, it still is to like go for the art, but now it's just like looking on chain a bit more, which I like definitely appreciate Nansen for, and that was the one that I was like, okay, Bored Apes is it. And I was very particular after I minted one, and I minted one, and then I bought another one that was 0.07, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep buying like whatever is cheap. But after that second one, I was like, no, I want a specific one. So I took more time looking for like that perfect ape instead of like, oh, like let me just stack up on apes. So that was definitely my big break with NFTs.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk later on like how you did such like utilize that ape so amazingly. But what I thought was really interesting, and I didn't know about you until we kind of met yesterday, was that like you're in the Navy still, and you have obviously a really like intelligent view on money. So if people didn't know, and I'll try and actually add that link later if you're happy for it. I don't want to embarrass you, but you're in the Business Insider article, and I thought it was really, really interesting on like how you would use kind of the money from the Navy to then invest in property and everything. So how did you become like this person that is so like wise with money? And then how did that translate into crypto? Did you feel like NFTs was this high risk asset? Or is it just kind of something that fit well with your personality anyway?
For me, I feel like it fit my personality. I mean, it's speculative until like it becomes a positive and it's only an investment for people. And there's small threads of like, oh, this is why like Bored Apes was meant to be. But for me, it was I knew ETH was speculative in the beginning. Um, and for some people it still is. And even in the personal finance space, like a lot of people are like very against crypto, but I want to break that mold, obviously, and like educate people about it. And for me, how I became like kind of better, I'm still always getting better with money, was just I've seen people in the military, like in the US, unfortunately, there's homeless veterans, and that always affected me. And I was just like, okay, I want to be able to teach people in the service on how to take advantage of what you're given. What you were talking about, Alex, was for the people in the Navy or the military, they get a housing allowance. And I noticed, like, okay, if I get a housing allowance and I purchase a house and I rent out two different rooms, they're paying for my mortgage. And then that extra money is going into my pocket. So it's just like the different hacks that I kind of watch and observe, and I see like a good space for me to kind of fill in, like, and take advantage of. So
How how do you find time is one thing, like working in the Navy and then also getting into NFTs. And then I asked this question last week and like the intern episode. So Delphi intern is at college, and I wanted to ask him like, what is the perception of people at college of crypto and NFTs? So what is the perception as well in the kind of military or Navy when you try and talk to people about it? Do you try and convince them into crypto? Is it more you're like trying to convince them into investing in general? And then, yeah, so what is their take on crypto and NFTs?
So with their take for crypto, I'm more observant and let the person kind of speak on what their experience is. So I'll have a lot of people that's like, oh, they're really into Solana, and we'll say Ethereum is a boomer coin. And there's also like the Cardano ones and Doge ones in the people that I know, and I kind of just open them up and explain like, hey, this is why there's value in Ethereum, or this is why looking at on chain would be important. The investing part and all that would just come naturally with them wanting to set up a budget. And like my biggest thing was always to help people like get out of debt and then build wealth, because anybody that's joining in the military like I did straight from like 18 years old, you don't know what to do with money and you're given all this money, so you're just going to rack up a ton of debt. So that's the first piece that I want to help, is getting out of debt, and then building wealth is either real estate, crypto. And for me, I'm a fan of crypto just because of its future. And so that's kind of like where I lean toward. And for the most part, when I have like people that's like a Solana maxi, I just let them be, and I just explain like, you know, you want to be diversified and always check different coins. Just not too many meme coins in their in their portfolio. So
Yeah.
I'm
I would feel like as well, like, because I don't even try. I've tried to convince people into, and maybe it's the wrong way around. Now I'm saying it, but when I've tried to convince my friends, I try and convince them into crypto because I think maybe it's here they've heard of it more, or they understand that like money goes up. But me trying to explain NFTs is like particularly difficult, I've always found, and I thought it was interesting. I've had like other people on that say actually they go for NFTs first, and it makes more sense to me. Like they see a nice looking image, they get it. But my experience is I explain to them like, you own this image, and you know what they say. Obviously, it's like, why don't you just right click save it? Anyone could own it. So what is your experience then of like that? What do they feel about the whole aspect of the image and like ownership? Does that make any sense to people? Do you find it easier to convince NFTs or crypto?
I find it more
Oh, you muted yourself.
my fault, my fault. I know how I feel like it's easier to convince them when it's NFTs, but I rewind it back and explain crypto first, because I know firsthand of like how many of these NFT collections will go to zero, or how many are like just a pump and dump. So it's like they've seen something, and I'll be like, where did you see that? Like early last year, it was a lot was like, oh, this Facebook group, or like this Instagram. Then I was just like, okay, like paper trade, and like say you want to buy that one, just, you know, don't spend the ETH, buy that ETH, don't spend it, and then see where it's at like a week from now. Like, what do you feel about that decision? So that's like been the approach. And at the end of the day, they didn't lose any ETH, and at the same time, they didn't have to buy an ETH liquid JPEG. So that's been my approach. And they're like, well, at least now I have ETH. And I was like, exactly. Now you can just stack up, and that's, for me, that's what's worked, is just stacking up. And a lot of things you'll be like, oh, that looks really good. Like, and I'll always ask, if that goes to zero, are you all right with that? And they're like, probably not. You know, they're just like, no, I can't like kind of take that loss. I don't have ETH like that. So just stack up, just be patient. And ones that you do like, at the end of the day, you'll have that in your collection.
Yeah, that makes sense. So last bit, like on the Navy, and then in relation to Nansen, because I think we'll show your screen in a minute, and you can like go through the Nansen process. But as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, you work, or worked at least, in like data analytics for airplanes, right? So that's part of your job. Do you feel like, and like you'll show us now in a second, so if you want to get your screen ready, I'll put it up. Do you feel like that kind of led you into Nansen, or is that just a complete coincidence altogether?
That's a great one. I feel like it led me to Nansen for sure, just because. So I'm a data analyst. That's one of the things I do for the Navy with aircraft. Crazy story is we have more aircraft than the Air Force, the Navy does. Um, so I keep track, or whoever else is the same job as me, keeps track of like the flight hours to components on the aircraft to just the data of it. And a lot of people just kind of just run through the data and just checks in the block. But I really like digging into it, like, oh, okay, like this component's that, and maybe that's what's causing this issue. But doing it for so long, I kind of got bored of it, and I want to know what the next transition for me is. So when I found like on-chain like analytics, it just like opened up my whole eyes. Like there's this thing where it's like just different types of intelligence gathering that you would do. And for me, on-chain analytics is one of those things that you would do. It's on-chain intelligence when you break it down as, just one of the piece to look at when trading NFTs, even like different coins. But my specialty, I feel like, is just NFTs, just because it's what clicks to me and what I'm more familiar with.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So shall we go through kind of what you look at on Nansen? So if you want to bring up Nansen, and we can go through like your user flow, maybe you can give some tips on what people should be looking for, or maybe just what you look at. I'll put it up now. Oh, there you go.
Okay, perfect. So for me,
if you Mike, if you go full screen, if you could, yeah, perfect.
There you go. So for me, I definitely live on this page right here. First thing I look at, and I always just like to look at the hot NFTs to see what's actually moving. As you can see now, like for the longest last year and before the bear market, it was just like all Yuga Labs, and now it's just different ones. So quick glance at hot NFTs. Familiar, I did see that earlier. I'll just go to NFT Paradise. This is one thing that I noticed. I don't think anybody has said this before, is I like to go through the floor and go all the way to like whatever was 0.08. And the reason being is if someone just starting out, like they want to just get into NFTs, like they're not going to have like 0.5 ETH to just spend. So one of the things that I look at when it's such a low price like this is if there's a lot of volume there. And then that's kind of like where I start my process of looking at items that may pump later on. And if it's a collection that I do like, I'll grab one or two.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the ways I found MFers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In the beginning, like I was just like, I didn't know what it was. I knew Satoshi. I didn't know it was his thing, but it was just one of those like, let me just go look at what the cheap ones are. And then I was like, oh, okay, that looks good. And I bought a bunch over there. So for these ones, most of the time I am on Twitter. So it's like, I know the different collections that people talk about, and what's popping out with different influencers. So if there's specific ones, if you tell me one specific one, I could go to it and like.
Yes. I don't recognize any of these. Vanilla is the only one.
This one is.
Okay, yeah.
So this one I know for a fact is big over here in Japan, and also should People Pleaser. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Yep.
She has a connection with them, and they're actually one of the ones that's going to do an anime, and they already have a studio.
Oh wow! Okay.
And everything set up. So this one would be just something that I would kind of plan to look at, like, okay, like, what's the percentage that's listed, and then I would even go into Twitter to see like what the conversation is about ShinseiGalverse, and then also the Discord. So those are my main 3 ones. But I always start with Nansen to see what, to surface the signal. See, like right here, there was a smart money at that time. I don't know how much they bought, but we could see, let's see.
That was a recent purchase as well, right?
Yes, it was.
I think I did
So
see
I don't know.
these. Yeah, I think if
I don't know.
Journey's watching, or like Journey on our team showed them to me, and we were like, we didn't buy it. But I think I saw it when it minted. But I didn't know they had a whole studio and everything. Because it's pretty cool.
Also, for people that don't want to have to pull up their emoji, if you just make a keyboard shortcut for SM, you could just make it the smart
Oh,
money.
wow. Genius.
Oh shoot! I think I went to the seller. So let me see the buyer. See, so someone's stacking up on it recently. So that's one of the things is like, okay, someone buying them at this price, so be as well. So I would just kind of look into their wallets more, and also the biggest thing is just the conversation, like in different channels with Twitter and Discord, as mentioned. But for the most part, at 0.08 or 0.09 ETH, like that's not a bad price, and with a potential to even 3x, 5x from there. I would scoop one, or I would definitely scoop five. Not
So
financial advice. That's what I would do, just because I vibe with them, and
yeah.
if they do an anime, that's a huge potential for them.
So are you
guys,
looking at this range like most of the time, or is it like this is the first thing you check? That's kind of
the first thing I check.
0.08. Okay.
The first thing I check. So that is one of the first things I check, and then after, like, I kind of just do my, like, I guess, low shopping, you could say, just because it's under under 1 ETH really. That's when I would look on here and see what the volumes are. I'm sure you've seen like how like low how BAYC is dropping.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. But it is interesting to see how many Yuga assets are on like the top 10. So I would, for me right now, I think there is an opportunity with Otherdeed, just because it's kind of harder to signal that, because it's divided by the different let me pull it up really quick.
Do you want to give your
Properties.
story? Do you want to give your story
Yeah.
on Otherdeed as well? Because I thought it was a really good one.
Oh yeah. So on Otherdeed, so here's something I found a bit interesting, because I can't filter like, oh, who all has codas. Let's look at coda floors really quick. So I know it was like 12 ETH. It might have dropped just because. Let's see. Okay, so coda 11. Let's see 11. So if we go to trades, what I like about Nansen is being able to filter specifically in price, because we can't filter through the different if there's a coda or not. But I do know the coda floor is 11. So if we just check on the most recent purchases that's over 11, you could tell that these are most likely codas, especially at 14. See?
Still a lot of recent ones then as well. 19 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we go by buyers, check the smart money. See, Jimmy bought one. Oh, here's what I also have a theory that a lot of people know that they're being watched, so they're not being smart money. Like ETH Millionaire was one.
Let
me see.
Yeah, that could be an alt wallet. I think that happens like a lot.
Yeah, so he was starting to stack up on codas. And also the most interesting one I found was a smart airdrop, or what's the label that you guys have them as? The airdrop?
AirDrop Pro? We just added another one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think that's where it clicked to me, where I saw an airdrop pro
Also,
buying
it'd
a
be cool,
bonus.
Mike, to talk about, maybe like getting ahead, but in terms of
Yeah.
like you using like the NFT loans to then get
Oh,
mutants, right? So then stack up on these kind of other deeds. So you've got a lot of interesting stories for other deeds.
yeah. So obviously, like you don't want to. So some people would just like sell their NFT and then that's
Mhm.
it. For me, I don't want to lose my ape, you know. So why not use unlock that liquidity there um, with I'll show you with a loan. So I'm sure people have seen like what's going on with loans with Franklin and everything. But if you look at the balances on BAYC, you'll notice that Niftyfi is one of those um, NFT lending protocols that's been around. They've been around since 2017. And what's that allowed me to do is instead of selling my NFT, I'm able to take a loan out, which I do have a loan out right now at 60 ETH. And I decided to buy some quotas with it just because I dig the quotas. I feel like there is something going on with them. Um, and even if you look at the Niftyfi um, protocol, their address, it shows you all the different NFTs that people take loans on.
Mhm.
So it's kind of interesting to know that someone out there has there's 87 crypto dick butts being used as loans to for ETH or DAI, whichever one they want to. Or it's
Mhm.
really wrapped ETH that they use. So for me, I've borrowed over 200 ETH since 6 months ago,
Mhm.
and I paid that back. And I've also lent out ETH at I lent out 19 ETH. So it's like if I have ETH that's just standing around and I don't want to do anything with it, I could just lend it out. And the worst case would be I lose that ETH but I get their NFT,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. So
So you found a lot of success, right? From like
yes,
taking loans on your Bored Ape, and then you would use that money to then kind of buy mutant apes, right? And then you'd be
yes,
able to get more airdrops because you felt like the other deed airdrop was coming. So you did
yeah.
like found a lot of success off that. And also feel free to show NFTfi, like the website. I haven't
Okay,
even
okay.
seen it, and I know maybe a lot of people haven't because it seems like I spoke to Mike 2 days ago to prepare for this, and he was telling me about all this like NFT fi stuff, and I knew nothing about it, to be honest. And then suddenly it seems like all this Ben Dow stuff, and Franklin put a tweet out yesterday like he had borrowed, was it 10,000 ETH, and paid all of it back and
Was
only 9 ETH
I think
interest.
I think it was 1,000 ETH.
No, I think it was 10. It sounds ridiculous.
Was it 10? Was
Yeah,
it
it
really
sounds
10?
ridiculous, but it was 10 because I said to my friends,
Oh,
it was like,
it was 10.
yeah, 10,000 because Pudgy Penguins as a collection got bought for 750 ETH. And he's taken a loan of 10,000 ETH. So, yeah,
He could he could have just got
amazing.
a loan out with his apes and then buy out pudgy penguins, and then
Yeah.
he could have had a rotating picture of different pudgy penguins.
Yeah, so that I always thought like how is Franklin buying so many apes all the time? And I guess what he was doing, and I think there was a space last night. So if you were there, you might be able to tell me that. I guess that he just like takes loans on the apes and then puts the collection bid up, which he's been doing recently, and then
Mm-hmm.
buy the ape or whatever, then just flip it on for more at the floor price. It's a pretty simple effective method. Obviously, at the moment, the floor price is dropping, so maybe it's a bit more risky. But
Yeah,
yeah, so I was always so confused at how has Franklin got endless money, but actually, it just seems like he was taking loans on his apes and paid it all back. So it's very impressive.
yeah, and I know like a lot. Like I'm not sure if you know, but a lot of people do that where they just take loans out on they use like whatever their house as collateral. But
Hmm.
now for us, like we're familiar with NFTs, so it's using our NFTs as collateral. So this is Niftyfi. I am on the lend page, and these
Hmm.
are people's different NFTs that it's ordered by the most recent listing. So whoever you could see here, there's a bunch of doodles. Let's go to list view really quick. I don't know if it's gonna work because I'm not signed into my MetaMask.
Okay.
Proper security.
But also, actually, Mike, I thought it was interesting. You said that you don't want your MetaMask showing up. You want no, you said that NFTFi was actually here from 2017. So we had an episode with El Barso recently, and I also didn't know. I think we said that like NFTFi was a new protocol, or whatever. But you tell me it's from 2017, which is even more like remarkable because there was nowhere near as much activity in NFTs back then.
Yeah. So what? God, you should definitely try to interview the founder on one of your episodes.
Yeah.
But they were trading and like using their crypto kitties as collateral.
Wow.
If hold on, I need to like find that specific. Oh, I think they cleaned it up. There was a medium. Is it in this one?
Is NFTFi the biggest platform? So like for these loans?
I feel like it is. I am not sure of the other ones.
Okay.
But you know, like they just had some announcement with they just partnered with somebody for something, and I can't recall it just because I'm like thrown off that I'm not able to log in, and I don't want to.
Don't worry about it. I thought it'd just be cool to look, but we get the general sense anyway.
Yeah, but it shows you the list of the different NFTs that's up for collateral, and people you yourself can put what terms you want. Say you only want 1 ETH for your pudgy penguin, and you're looking to borrow it for 14 days because you know you could use that 1 ETH to flip something. You could put up that loan, and you're like, okay, I want 1 ETH for 14 days at 20%. So people will start putting their bids in and be like, okay, I have 1 ETH, I'll lend it to you, but I want to do 25%. Or someone else puts like, 90% for 7 days. So it's on you to accept that term. So it's a good peer-to-peer protocol. Whereas if it's peer protocol, you know, like you see what's going on with like the death spiral of the BAYC floor going on right now. It wouldn't be like that.
Do you feel like there's just tons of people doing this then that like I'm just naive on? That like, so all these people, especially with apes, and I guess with punks as well, it was a really, really high value asset. Like it was $500,000 or whatever. It makes so much sense to me. I just don't know why I haven't really thought about it. That you'd then just take loans and flip for more, especially when the market was like so bullish and like pretty much you could always find something going up. Nowadays is a bit more difficult. But I'm guessing that's actually, now I think about it, how all these people amass like so much wealth in NFTs.
Yeah, so I think I do believe a lot of people are still doing it, but there's also a lot of people that's not being successful with it. For me, like my backup plan is to sell different NFTs that I don't really care for because I know I put up my ape, so I'm willing to lose like my doodle or like my pudgy penguin, just the different ones that I would sell if I need. I only have one. I wouldn't sell it. I actually really like the one I got. It like vibes with me because it has the you know I can talk about it, pudgy penguins.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have a backup plan because there is this risk, isn't there? Obviously, as we're seeing now, because it's run through like smart contracts, right? It will just take your asset. So there's no like decision making or anything. Like your ape will go, and it's right to say that like it doesn't even matter like the amount of loan you've taken because they're not going to sell it and like pay you back the excess. They just take your ape or whatever and they sell it. So that's why we've seen all this drama recently. What is your take actually on that? Like this situation with apes? Does it seem like really doom and gloom as most people are saying? Yeah.
I don't think so. Like I mentioned, I'm not too familiar with that other protocol with
Yeah.
how they're doing their liquidations. One of the things I do like with NiftyFi is because it's peer to peer. If it's someone that you put the loan out and request that on the Discord, and you know that person that's providing you that loan, if I
Hmm.
was going to be a few days late, I could just message them and be like, "Hey, this is my situation. I hope you understand." And if
Hmm.
they say yes, they're not just gonna liquidate. They're not going to just default you on your loan. They'll
Hmm.
give you that time, and you could still get your ape back. Because a lot, obviously, we're dealing with smart contracts, protocols, and everything. I like the human aspect of it, of
Yeah.
being able to reach out to the community of another community, like somebody else that's just like in the Pudgy Penguins, but they lend out ETH to apes that's looking for loans on NiftyFi. Like, I like
Hmm.
that part as opposed to just like the peer to protocol and like what we're going through right now. But my
Hmm.
overall perspective on that is I'm not too sure. I feel like it'll be fine. Like, Franklin paid off his loans. It's not just like one person. There's other people there that's trading, and I'm sure they know what they're doing.
Hopefully.
Ben Dow is, yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll see. If not, I guess I will have to try to scoop some apes.
Some cheap apes.
I,
Yeah.
I see people
Do you want to?
already waiting.
Yeah, no, I think people probably are, especially like these bigger accounts. So do you want to continue? Sorry, I cut you off anyway. On like, what else do you look at on Nansen?
Oh, sorry. Let me just close these.
Cool.
Yeah, so for the most part, one of the things I look at is just the different volumes, and because of my theme, like always being on Twitter and knowing like what different collections are. Um, if I notice that there's a lot of people talking about it, like the potatoes for a while back was starting to pump. I saw that one. I'll look on chain to see like who all the smart money is and what the different collections associated with it is. Because I know that this is just a theory, but I feel like the people that did what was that? Or not Kumaverse, Kara Karafuru. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So they had like a 3 ETH pump, like even before reveal, and it stood strong. And then obviously it went down. And I always thought of like where they went to next, and I feel like the potatoes is where they ended up at. So I'll just look at like those different collections that I feel like are connected and
Hmm.
see what the associated wallets are. And just like
Interesting.
anybody else that uses Nansen, smart alerts, I feel like that is the best unlock to use
Hmm.
um, to keep track of different wallets. That's not just smart money, but also like ones that's, I feel like smart money's secret accounts, secret wallets,
Yep.
because if everybody knows to just like copy smart money, everybody would have a ton of ETH. But
Hmm.
you have to take that time into like really looking and being able to tell the difference of what's a pump and what's actually something that's being built. Um,
We
one of
actually
the things,
added, I'll just say, Mike, I think just today
yeah,
we added, so if you're on a standard sub, before you had 3 smart alerts available, I think you now have 10, which is obviously a big upgrade and very, very valuable. And I should share actually there, if you want to sign up, we got discounts. So go check out the pricing plans. But yeah, smart alerts are super, super helpful. And like you say, I have smart alerts, not even just set on like smart money only. Because some people are just, for instance, like big holders in a project, or you notice them and you feel like, okay, this is probably someone's alt account, like we looked at earlier. And then it's actually more of a gem at that point because people probably don't have smart alerts on that person, and all of this. And you can do it for tokens as well, crypto, I mean, not just NFTs, to kind of see. what people are doing. So are they like a big holder in a token? Are they going to dump on you? Are they going to take out of like a liquidity pool or anything like this? So smart alerts are so valuable. And yeah, having 10 on standard is pretty helpful.
Yeah. Do you keep up with the 10K 10K TF?
I don't, and I should, because I am an idiot. Because in Penguins, they have all this 10K TF stuff, and it made no sense to me at all. Like socks and stuff. I was like, no, I'm out. It doesn't make sense. But I'm stupid because of that, because they all seem to have like gone up far past when I first saw them. They don't make sense to me still. I don't know why you'd buy a virtual sock, but don't hate me for it because I don't know
No.
enough about it. Do you?
No, I don't. I really wanted to get into it just because early like PAYC Discord was always just talking about it, but it was just like a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
Especially like last year with like Punk's comic, Doodles, Cool Cats, and it's just like you really have to narrow down to a few collections that you want to keep track of. That way, you know what advantages to have, just like how Franklin did with knowing to buy Apes and then doing a collection offer and using that opportunity there to build his war chest, so to speak.
I think you can get like spread too thin as well if you're in like loads of collections, especially as a Nansen user, I guess.
For sure.
Because I was going to ask you as well, like once you buy a collection, do you use Nansen to then understand if you should be selling or you should be holding? And if you do all of these things for like 50 collections, like I saw the other day, there's people who are minting like 200 collections in a week. And I was like, what is going on here? Just to make like 0.1 profit.
Wow.
So I think it's better, like you said, to like specialize maybe in like 5 or something and really have an understanding of what they're up to, the community, and then also a better understanding of the data. So like, who are your biggest holders? What's going on? Are you about to get dumped on? Things like this. So yeah, people that own tons of collections, I admire them, but I don't understand them either.
Yeah, too many to keep up with. For me, yeah, I just narrow it down, and that for me that works the best, just because I know what's going on with those communities.
What NFTs do you own, if you're willing to tell us?
Oh yeah,
I actually don't know.
My wallet's public. BAYC obviously, and then mostly Yuga Labs, with the exception of CryptoPunks, World of Women. I got that actually for my goddaughter, and I was just she just turned 13. I want to say, and I'm just trying to get her into crypto. And what's another one that? Akutars.
Yeah,
I think I'm biased with Akutars, but just I know that Michael Johnson is building, and there's a lot of things that's going on there that not a lot of people see, and because the price isn't going up, people are just kind of ignoring it, which that's fine with me. And he's been in the space for a while, and it's no like I think this information is public that they're making a movie with Akutars, or I forgot what article it was that I read. So there's that potential there. So yeah, Akutars is probably one of my big ones. Doodles is another one, and that's pretty much it. There's other collections that I want to get into, but as I said, I just want to consolidate and then take advantage of that. But there is always a hype cycle with different collections that people want to watch out for, and the joke was always like, oh, as long as you sell before Steve Aoki buys one, you're good.
You know?
So it's always that, like, if there's too much volume going on, it's a good time to take profit. You shouldn't be like profit shaming anyone. Profit's profit, So
what is your view, just quickly, on like Doodles? Because Doodles has really surprised me. So I know that they I really like Doodles. I like the look of it. I was jealous of people that had it because I was just like, I'm not spending whatever 15 grand on it. But then I don't get it because they've got like this president, the ex-president of Billboard as their like CEO. They got Pharrell, and then just gone silent. So what is like related to that? What are you looking at the moment in terms of investing and stuff? Is it like longer term stuff? So does it matter? Surely that like Doodles are going down, but if you actually look at what they're doing, like the Billboard president Pharrell and all of this, is it not a tempting investment now? So, what is your investment strategy, I guess, at the moment compared to before?
For me, I would, as much as like I love Pharrell and everything like that, like,
Hmm.
and their newest additions to their team, but I like to separate out that noise, so to speak, and
Yeah.
think of like what is the team, the core team doing? Like, sure, they have been radio silent, so they could be building. It's not like they just went off and rode off in the sunset and then
Yeah.
Zagabond does. Um, they're still
Yeah.
they're still around. Maybe we could make that in a verse. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like with Doodles, I like them, and this drop in price, I think I would definitely scoop one or two. I'd probably take a if I had another eight. Well, I could take a mutant and take a loan out, but I'm not sure what they have going on because they still have the duplicators,
Hmm.
and I don't know what the plan is with that. And there's not anything that's community wise that I see people are excited about.
Hmm.
Um, because normally in like just PFP collections, you would see the community gather around and really build up that hype and excitement. But I feel like the Doodles community I haven't seen too much of. Maybe the Twitter algorithm just isn't like feeding it to me.
No, I haven't
Um,
either. They just seem quite quiet. I think the account hasn't tweeted in August or anything. It seems strange. But I think that's
well,
everyone. It's not just Doodles. It seems like everyone is a bit quiet at the moment.
yeah,
Someone has a question for you, Mike.
yeah.
They say, do you have any specific offline NFT analysis that you do, or are you like mainly relying on Nansen?
So Nansen is one of like the intelligence that I like to
Hmm.
gather. The other is Twitter and Discord. And when I speak of Twitter, it's not like I'm like following like who said what. It's more of like I will just scroll through to see like if there's any conversations popping up or like even specific like people changing their PFPs. Um,
Hmm.
I forgot who it was that changed theirs early with crypto dick butts that I was like, oh, like why did this person change it?
Hmm.
So it was like a sudden movement there. With that's how I approach Twitter, and also seeing like how many tweets it like if it's a popping off tweet, you'll see like 140 tweets at this time. So there's conversation going on there, and then the third one would be just Discord. When I say Discord, there's no like alpha group or anything like that. I just literally go to different Discords and just search like specific keywords to see like okay what has anybody mentioned this in their Discord, like what's the general view there, and it's just putting those pieces together. um, and I think that's just something I learned with the military with like intelligence, like gathering and that sort. And that's how I the offline tools aside from that is just that there's no like anything else that I pay for or like would go after. So
You
hopefully
know,
that
like
helps.
yeah, in relation to so you mentioned like going into Discord and everything. I feel like the ape Discord or community is like quite elusive if you don't own an ape, obviously. So I'd like to get your like takes on the ape community, and I want to highlight as well your ape hat. I like it. The ape hat is nice,
Thank you.
and you got
Thank
ape
you.
t-shirt. So yeah, what is it like to be a bored ape? Because we don't get the insights very often.
I I think you should just come hang out in the general. The general is like where it's at. Granted, I haven't been in Discord in quite some time, but like there's not any like anything different with the like not token gated, but like the BAYC holder
Hmm.
channel. But the general one is always just so funny and hilarious, and it's always a good time. Like Herb, when I used to always be there, they would just be on voice chat, and we would just all like just chop it up like you're hanging out at a bar almost,
Hmm.
and you're just like catching up with friends in different time zones. Um, Funny enough, I remember a story of someone actually buying their ape because they were on the Central Land, and whatever thing they were doing in the Central Land, they got a shirt and they sold that, and they needed a few extra ETH to buy an ape. This was when it was like such a low, before 1 ETH. They needed an extra amount of ETH, and they just asked someone in general, and someone was like, okay, yeah, here's that ETH that you need, and they bought an ape, and then later on they paid them back. So it was
Wow.
just like, like it's just a cool vibe. And for anybody that's just an outsider looking in, it's you probably think, what the fuck am I doing here? But just stick
Hmm.
around, you'll see like the community is cool. You'll know like PP Man, you gotta tell him happy birthday, and it's just a whole different vibe.
Do you get like alpha? Have you ever had like really good tips from Bored Ape? Because in my head, maybe I'm wrong. I think like the
Yeah, yeah.
punks Discord, I feel like would have a lot of good alpha for some reason. But is that the same for the apes?
I I'm not sure. I haven't like seen any like alpha on there. I feel
Hmm.
like alpha wise, definitely OG punks Discord. I feel like it's all different now. Last I looked, but for the most part, like I feel like every Discord is just like trying to get alpha. Early 2021, definitely it was punks Discord. Before Yuga buying them out,
Hmm.
you could see it going on. So I'm not sure where everybody migrated to, but I feel like you get a better look at it when you're looking on chain, like through Nansen, than like
Hmm.
seeing what everybody else is um, talking about. Oh, really quick with Twitter,
Yep.
also pay attention to those accounts that you're following that you know are just like influencers or they just shill stuff. So if I see a project that's I'm interested in and they're following it already, it's kind of like a pass for me.
Hmm.
Um, but if not a lot of people are following and only a few, and there's no like specific shiller that would shill them, it would be a good project. I think that's one
Hmm.
of the alphas I have with Twitter.
Yeah. If I'm shilling a project, probably don't buy it. I try and like be super careful because I'm always scared that like people would buy something that I'm like looking at. But I still have to like, yeah, hopefully share some stuff. I want to ask
Yeah.
you last question because we've got like 10 minutes. What is your take on the future of this, let's say this year, firstly? So how is your strategy going to probably adapt? Do you feel like we've got like a year of sideways going on? And also, I know you're NFT focused as well. So is it more difficult because it's a bit trickier to kind of predict NFTs? There's no like history to look back on how will they perform. Whereas like with crypto, we got all these like years now to look back on, and you can understand, okay, this might happen. So are you now in a time like where you're feeling like you're going more into crypto, or are you sticking by NFTs? Are you picking up cheap prices, or do you feel like they're still going to go down a bit more? Yeah. So what are you doing? Is it more just sitting on your hands, or yeah?
I'm just
Hmm.
observing the market. I don't like to rush into things unless obviously like things click at the different items that I'm looking at. Um,
Hmm.
it's not like last year where you had like Irene Dow or I forget that one picture of the guy that took a picture every day.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about
Prices
that.
aren't moving like that.
Yeah.
Just be select. I'm very selective on what I'm wanting to buy. I'm reverting. Please don't ever copy me because I'm reverting back to like going for the art and just looking at the different artists and seeing what they're building. And as far as the NFTs, I feel like it's still in its early stage, and it will most likely be sideways. It's gonna definitely test out like which communities are strong. I know some people kind of catch flack with like having to sell their NFTs, but like if they need to sell it, they need to sell it. Like profit is profit at the end of the day. So it's understanding yourself as a collector and a trader, and what do you lean more of at the end of the day. So
yeah, I think you make a point as well. Like, profit is profit, of course, but also if you need money, sell the NFT. Like, there is this culture of just like, don't sell and whatever. And like, my view has always been everyone should do whatever they feel like is right for them. Yeah, if they feel like they're in profit, then fine, take it. If you're not in profit, don't just bag hold all the way down, because I think we're in an interesting spot as well. Like, some NFT collections have kind of, they saw last year, there was a lot of pressure on founders as well to like execute the road plan, do it really quickly, and like they kind of rushed through it. And I think now they're suffering a bit because they've executed most of their road plan, a lot of these collections, and there's nothing left. Even if it's also just like there's no hope of anything left, because people can't look forward to like, okay, this is coming, everything's already out there. And also, I think you make a great point that it's cliche, but it's actually true. As we're seeing, this is like the time now where you see like what collections have strong communities, and those are the ones that are holding up, because people are actually just sticking by the collections. They're talking in the community. They don't want to sell, because a huge selling point, which is underestimated, is just the community of a project. Because you buy into it, you get these people to like talk to all the time. They provide alpha, things like this. And if you bought a collection that was basically just like rush through the roadmap, get to the end of it, it's done, and then, or you have a community that's just there to make money, they don't care about the project or whatever, it kind of disappears. There's nothing to fall back on, and I think that is what we're seeing at the moment. I know it's another cliche, but ones that can kind of survive this period, I think should be pretty strong. But I think I've been surprised by how many aren't surviving this period. Like, I think I didn't curse, but it was like bad timing on like Azuki's, Clonex, and Doodle. I put some tweet out like they're defending the Tenny floor and like nothing can get past it. And then like I think the day after that, all of them just went under Tenny. Which I thought was surprising as well, because it was like so strong support all this time. And yeah, that makes me worried on the whole space in general. And then we've got this like bend out thing for Apes, so it's all a bit risky at the moment. But I'm sure people will buy some like absolute bargains, and for PFPs and art as well. Art kind of goes under the radar a bit. But yeah, I think we'll find out on that.
I think on the and indexes too, like like the top 10 is mostly social, only one art, but I think art blocks is still slept on. Personally, just don't tweet out about like how the floor is holding up.
Yeah, I think it's better if I just don't tweet about some of these things. But yeah, I feel like art blocks is slept on. But the whole market at the moment is a bit hesitant on NFTs in general. So yeah, it's tempting to say like just hold off for a bit, but then if everyone holds off, it's not going to be good. But yeah, have you got anything else you wanted to add there? Because we've hit 1 hour. I know you're going on an exciting climb, right, of a mountain. I probably don't want to dox the actual mountain. But yeah, so anything to add for the last minute?
No, that's pretty much it. If anybody has any questions, just feel free to just reach out and anything like that. Hopefully I provided some help and entertainment.
Yeah, definitely. Also, what I'll do is put your YouTube channel in our description after. I need to remember to do that. Can I put that Business Insider article? It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I'll put that. There's an article on Mike as well. I'll put that in. And yeah, there's a light sign up link. If you want to go and utilize our discount, we've got up to 40% off all plans, which is amazing. Standard plan has just got 10 smart alerts, which is also amazing. Subscribe. We've got an office hours, of course, next Wednesday, a Nansen Unsupervised again every Friday. And yes, thank you so much for watching. Have a really good weekend. And that is it. Bye-bye.